You know by the time 65 rolls around, only 1 in 100 people will be well off financially. 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation. More so, around 90% of families lose all wealth by the third generation. So even if you do make a fortune in the most abundant time in history, statistically, you, your kids, or your grandkids will screw it all up. By the end of this video, not only will you understand what it takes to build generational wealth, but you'll also have a game plan for your kids. Buckle up, okay? You might want to take some notes here. Let's do this. Welcome to English Master TV, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Number 1, buy land. In order for you to understand generational wealth, there's an important distinction we need to get right: personal wealth versus family wealth. For example, $100,000 sitting in your bank account, that's personal wealth. You can go to your nearest coffee shop and buy a coffee with money from that account. It's at your discretion, and it can be depleted. Family wealth, on the other hand, is illiquid most of the time. That means it's hard to change it back into money, or it requires extra steps. Because of this illiquid function, you're less likely to blow through it in case of petty spending. Land is the ultimate store of value. There's a fixed amount of land on planet Earth, and the fact that you can buy a piece of the Earth is mind-blowing. Because the population is increasing and the demand for space is always shooting up, the demand for land will always increase too. Buy land and have your children hold on to it. It'll only increase in value, and by number 5 on this list, we'll show you what you need to do with that land in case you need money so you don't have to sell. Number 2, buy cash-flowing property. The golden gods of cash-flowing property are apartment rentals, commercial property, or hotels. If you've played Monopoly before, you know how this goes: you buy, you hold, you wait, you cash in. As long as you don't sell the property and there's a demand for it, it'll forever put food on the table. Here's the easiest recipe for generational wealth. Throughout your life, buy at least 2 rental properties. Now, these won't give you the lifestyle of a king or anything, but you will never go hungry for as long as you live. When your kids become adults, teach them the golden rule as well so they each buy 2 rental properties themselves. As long as you steer clear of any dramatic events like an uninsured rare illness, in only 2 generations, the family will begin building a portfolio of passive income that will stick around for decades to come. People will always need homes, businesses will always need shops to sell their goods, and people will always travel to nice hotels. Number 3, build an evergreen business. There are some businesses out there that can survive through time. Most businesses can't. You might be killing it on TikTok right now, but your grandkids will definitely not be eating from your glow-up videos. So, you need to expand. An evergreen business has made money in the past, makes money now, and will make money long after you're gone. Want to have your mind blown? Boeing is a last name. The company was named by William Boeing after himself. Hilton is a last name. So is Ferrari, Lamborghini, Chevrolet, Porsche, Ford, all with the family's last name. Mercedes-Benz was named after Carl Benz. Burberry, Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, Fendi, Chanel, all last names. Bosch, Dell, Disney, Dyson, Harley-Davidson, Hewlett-Packard, Forbes, Guinness, Harrods, Hennessy, Jack Daniels, Kellogg, Lavazza, Mattel, McDonald's, Ritz-Carlton, Marriott, Rolls-Royce, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce. Almost every brand you touch in a store is someone's legacy. Someone's brainchild that became a business structured in such a way that it survived until now. The family became the brand. The family became the business. The only requirement is to take it seriously and keep innovating and developing your space. What would your last name sound like as a brand? What business can you start up that your children could carry on the lantern for you? Number 4, buy S&P 500. So many of you have heard these stories. If you invested X amount of money in Apple or Bitcoin in the early days, you would have trillions by now. But the thing is, you're not smart enough to know what the next Apple or the next Bitcoin will be. But there is still hope. We'd like to introduce you to the ultimate passive investment vehicle. There's actually a way for your money to grow no matter what if you look at long-term investment periods. It's called the S&P 500. If you're a subscriber to our channel, you're more than familiar with this, but for anyone who's new here, the S&P 500 bundles the best-performing 500 companies in the US and allows you to invest in all of them at once. If one company does poorly, it's taken out and replaced with another better-performing one. Since its introduction, the S&P 500 has been the golden goose for those interested in building generational wealth. Here's what $100 would look like invested in the S&P 500. And yeah, sure, that time horizon seems big, but here is what you are not seeing. $100,000 invested in the S&P 500 in 2009 would be over $850,000 today, 8.5x in 15 years. This accounts for everything happening in recent history. Since inception, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 6% per year, every year. Warren Buffett, considered by many the greatest investor of all time, hasn't beaten the S&P 500 in over a decade. S&P 500 for the long run. We recommend Vanguard or Fidelity, not because we're sponsored by them, we're not, but because we use Vanguard ourselves. Sure, you could use apps like eToro or Revolut to gain exposure to the S&P 500, but their longevity is uncertain. Stick with well-established providers for long-term reliability. 5. Buy, borrow, die. This strategy is a cornerstone of generational wealth. It revolves around 3 principles. 1. What you buy, invest in assets that appreciate over time. 2. What you do with them, never sell, instead, borrow against them. This avoids taxes on borrowed money and allows reinvestment to generate more income and build credit. 3. What happens when you die? Plan to minimize inheritance taxes, which can reach up to 40% in some regions. Strategic estate planning is crucial for wealth transfer. 6. Buy and hold Bitcoin. Investing in Bitcoin can be an asymmetric risk worth taking. With a limited supply, 21 million, and increasing global economic uncertainty, owning even one Bitcoin could become a significant store of value. It's a calculated gamble in the face of inflation and currency devaluation. 7. Buy and hold gold, silver, and gemstones. Precious metals and gemstones are traditional stores of value and portable wealth. While not as dynamic as other assets, they have historically served as emergency resources and heirlooms passed down through generations. And we'll go back to the old days. Well, you might want to start buying gold. Bullion or silver coin sold on teleshopping networks. Outside of its use in computer chips, we don't see gold or silver as something of great utility. People call it God's money because all the gold on planet Earth has come from meteors hitting the Earth's crust millions of years ago. But as we become a spacefaring civilization, we see no reason why gold would maintain its rare metal status. A 5-year-old is able to understand supply and demand rules, so if all of a sudden we have an abundance of gold available, its value is going down to zero. Just ask the people of the Emirates what happened to the pearl industry when Japan developed artificial pearl farming and that supply became unlimited. 8. Buy and hold art or other things people would pay for. Now, we'll make this one short because we want to get to the good stuff. Yes, there's value in desire, value in collectibles, and even something called intangible value. Elvis's guitar is more valuable than the exact same guitar model because, well, there are people who value it higher. There's no material difference, but the appeal is real. If your goal is to build multi-generational wealth, you might want to look at things that are still desired decades from now, especially when most Americans now think they need to save over $1.4 million just to retire, according to a Northwestern Mutual study. Art is one of those things that has stood the test of time, while your Jordan 1s, Yeezys, or random 10,000 NFT collections will be worthless in the future. The impressive thing is that art, as an asset class, has been outperforming the S&P 500 for over 20 years. But, art has also historically been reserved for the rich because of the high cost of entry, until now. Today's sponsor, Masterworks, is making it possible for anyone to invest in art. Their experts purchase blue-chip art, like Basquiat, Banksy, and Warhol paintings, and break it down into shares. Investors buy those shares, just like you would do with traditional company stock. When the piece of art sells, the profits are distributed to the shareholders. Art has been historically a safe haven investment. Even in the recent market downturn, they sold an $8 million Basquiat painting. 9. Never stop earning and minimize taxes. Okay, so if the first half of this video was focused on the things to acquire, this second part will be more actionable in terms of what you have to do on a personal level to make sure your wealth keeps growing. First of all, no matter how much income you get from your investments, if the goal is to build long-term viable wealth, you should never stop earning. You don't have to work a job that makes you miserable just for the sake of a paycheck if you're already well off. But from personal experience, we can tell you that humans derive purpose from work. We like to build things, figure puzzles out, and help people, although it might not feel like that at first. No matter how much money they inherit, neither you nor your children should ever stop earning. A person who can't earn for themselves cannot hold on to wealth. Teach your children the principles of building and maintaining wealth. Once everyone can generate wealth, the question becomes how to hold on to it for the long run. That's where you need to learn to speak the language of money or, at the very least, get yourself a good accountant to serve as a translator. Incorporate and start deducting your expenses as business expenses. Make your children part of the company, and pay intellectual property rights to them for their ideas as they help you navigate the business in a new climate. Your tax advisor will be able to help you with everything else. The goal is to be 100% legal in all of your efforts. But look, you are under no obligation to pay more tax than you're legally required to. Perpetually compound wealth and knowledge. Now, these two go hand in hand. First, you learn, then you remove the lel. The more you know, the more mental connections you can make, which translates to higher returns in everything in life, not just wealth. This is why rich people read so much. There's money hidden within the pages of the books they read. There's also valuable parenting advice and pathways to living a fulfilling life if you know where to search for them. To build generational wealth, you need to tap into the power of compounding. You already know Albert Einstein's quote, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." The differentiator is in your ability to understand how to use compounding to your advantage. If you're smart, you can move earnings from one end into other venues that earn you more money in a perpetual wealth-growing circle. The goal is to never stop compounding both wealth and knowledge. 11. Marry well. Who you marry is one of the biggest variables when it comes to generational wealth. Divorce without a prenup slices your wealth in half. Who your kids marry is almost as important. If your child gets divorced, a large portion of their inheritance can be lost. Back in the day, arranged marriages were the norm for financial alliances among wealthy families. With fewer children per family nowadays, marrying someone with a similar background can ensure both sides inherit wealth. If there's any doubt, get a prenup. Protect wealth through trust funds that distribute wealth gradually instead of granting full access. 12. Mentor your kids to take over the business. Only 30% of family businesses are passed to a second generation. Many kids don't want to live in their parents' shadows, but mentoring them can inspire them to continue or surpass the family legacy. If your kids don't start off better than you did, you failed as a parent. Provide them with real tools for success, not just basic necessities. 13. Set up a trust. Trusts are legal entities designed to preserve wealth and distribute it under specific conditions. They can be structured to avoid taxes and ensure the wealth is only accessed under predetermined criteria, such as graduating college or reaching a milestone. Trusts also allow your wealth to live on after your death, safeguarding it from mismanagement or excessive taxation. 14. Implement the 4% rule. The 4% rule ensures wealth grows sustainably. Withdraw no more than 4% of your total wealth per year, allowing the rest to compound. This principle ensures you live off the interest of your earnings rather than depleting the principal. 15. Write a will. Planning for your death is critical to ensuring a smooth transfer of wealth. A detailed will reduces disputes and ensures your legacy is preserved for future generations. Remember, inheritance planning benefits your grandchildren even more than your children, as your children will likely have established lives by the time they inherit. Bonus: invest for the next generation. The economic landscape is shifting, with inflation and technological change creating new opportunities and risks. The moves you make this decade can secure wealth for generations.